Well, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Yeah, glad to meet you, Joe.
Yeah. So before we get into your world of I want to know 5 years ago, this pandemic was a big deal, threw us all into the unknown. How did you ultimately make it through that time period, and how has it affected the way that you do work today?
Well, the pandemic was a very interesting time, and during that time, as you know, we were all asked to stay home, right? And one of my colleagues at JPMorgan Chase suggested that we run a seminar series, and this was a seminar series on knowledge graphs. And the main connection to AI is that knowledge graphs are a way to explicitly codify knowledge in the software. And you see this used all the time as part of Google search or on the Amazon's website where they are recommending products to you and etc. Right? So you know what that is.
Sure.
And so we launched this seminar series, and at the first session, lo and behold, there were 350 people.
Wow.
We were shocked.
Yeah.
It was interesting that people were staying at home and they didn't have anything else to do, and we launched this series, and people showed up, and we had great set of 10 sessions all from home, and people were dialing in from home. So I think that was very good, and based on that series, I wrote a set of notes, and it will actually lead to a book. I'm currently working on a book on knowledge graphs that started during that time. And apart from that, I during the pandemic, the other thing I remember is I remodeled my backyard.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You said that you're an artist, and I've not done much gardening throughout my life, but that was the time I actually got into it. I
Yeah.
mean, I read up a lot, I learned a lot, and went to a lot of nurseries, and got to read up on landscape design, and just put in a new backyard in my house, and I'm enjoying it. I mean,
That's
it's
wonderful.
great. It's very colorful. It's spring. Flowers are blooming, and that's the work I started during the time.
That's excellent. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, sixth graders. It's career day, and the kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Yeah, so I teach computers to think like we do,
Okay.
right? So there are two types of thinking that we do. Like you look at an image and you look at a photo and say, "Oh, it's Joe," right? That's one kind of thinking. And there is another kind of thinking that, oh, there are these two numbers, 29 plus 33. I'm first going to add the last two digits, and then there's a carry. Then I'll add the next two digits, and then I'll get the addition. So I work on the second kind.
Yeah.
I try to put rules in computers which codify a human way of doing things and human way of thinking.
So what did you want to be when you were in the sixth grade? What was your dream?
In sixth grade, my dream was to do something like the Wright brothers.
Okay.
So the Wright brothers invented airplane. I think it was sixth grade or seventh grade when I read their life story, and I thought that was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
they changed the world. They invented airplane and aviation industry, and look at what we have these days.
Absolutely. So take me back to your childhood. What were these foundational elements of technology, of teaching, of helping people understand AI? How did all of this evolve into who you are today? What were the seeds that were planted?
Yeah, so I would say math. I was good in math, and my father was very good in math. And so even like in grade two, I remember that I had all my multiplication tables down. And when I was in high school, I took these courses on geometry. And in geometry, you do a lot of these proofs, right? You prove triangle has the angles add up to 180 degree, and a lot of other interesting properties about these things, and that really got me interested in this whole area of logic and math, And then I went to engineering school, and during engineering school, I got exposed to computer programming, and I loved it, because it was just so logical, and you could troubleshoot it, you could debug things, and it engages your mind, and that's when I decided that I want to go into software and computer programming, and rest is history.
Yeah. So, what is, after all this time of being in technology, what's your favorite piece of hardware and what's your favorite piece of software?
Favorite piece of hardware? Well, the it's funny that you asked that question. I thought Palm Pilot was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was in that generation, and when we switched over from flip phone to the Palm Pilots, I thought it was a game changer.
Yeah.
And it's funny that during that time, one of my decisions to move over to Palm Pilot was driven by the fact that in the flip phone you could not have more than 500 contacts,
Yeah.
and and in Palm Pilot you can have more than. I mean, there was no limit at that time, or at least the limit was very high. It was
Yeah.
higher than what I needed to store. So I think that would be the most favorite piece of hardware. And I think my most favorite piece of software is um, it's I mean it's a little bit esoteric, and it's you can it's a theorem prover. I don't know if you know what a theorem prover is, but it it is a way of logically deriving new information. So you give it a claim, and then you give it a set of rules. It will systematically apply those rules, and it will tell you whether what you're asking it is logically following from everything it knows.
Interesting.
So yeah. So I mean, again, I think theorem provers they are used in practice. In particular, the heaviest user of theorem proving today is Amazon. So, like, if you are on Amazon Cloud and you want to configure various securities and control policies, um, so you specify it using set of regular expressions, and all of those are checked using a theorem prover. It's in regular use. You don't see it. It's
Yeah.
not user facing per se, but it's there in use.
It's a little bit like AI being in the background. I don't know that people understand how much it's being used by major platforms all the time now.
Right, right. Yeah. So it's in the background in the sense that the uh, interface is not based on natural language. Like the
Yeah.
current systems that you see, like Chat GPTs and others, you can talk to them in English, right?
Yeah.
And this is something a theorem prover is something you would talk to in a mathematical language,
Yeah.
which very few people can do, and that's why it's almost never user facing. You have to be a little bit of a um, black belt to
Yeah.
to interact with it and manipulate it. So
Yeah. Are you surprised at how fast AI became so big? I mean, it's like all of a sudden overnight, because we've had, you know, like we've had Alexa, we've had other AI assistants, and we've had Siri and all of those things. But it just seemed like a few years ago, the whole idea of AI blew up. Chat GPT, companies started using it. Do you feel like it really came on strong pretty quick?
well, I agree that it is a wonderful technology, and I recently ran a workshop at a major conference. It was a 2-day workshop, and at the end of the workshop, I had to write a report, and I could get all the transcriptions. I could ask it to summarize the transcripts and tell me what exactly happened. Obviously, I did not use everything that it told me, but the transcripts were like a lifesaver in that I didn't have to take any notes. Right? I
Yeah.
could just go back and look at what people said, and many times, I write the first draft myself of something that I want to say, and then I would um, ask it to kind of condense it. So first I wrote my thoughts, but the publication requires that it should be condensed to 200 words, and then I put it in ChatGPT and say, "Hey, reduce it to 200 words," right? And it works beautifully. I
Yeah.
mean, again, people sort of complain about hallucinations and other kinds of things, but for that kind of use case, when you gave it like a page of text and you want 200 words, even if it put something in there which would be hallucination, you can fix it
Yeah.
easily. It's helping you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a major shift. But I should say one other thing to this. There was a very interesting opinion piece in New York Times a few days ago, and this opinion piece was talking about what says like a mid technology. I mean, this is the first time I heard that word, mid technology, and and then I was read up on, okay, what the heck is mid technology? It seems that it's useful. It's not as useful as it is hyped, and eventually it will become part of your life. But it's not going to be like you are living a completely different life, right? Or it's not as impactful as people are claiming, and it sort of feels like this. And I mean, it's very useful, but it's also like hyped up out of proportions.
Yeah.
Like I just saw this something this morning that in 5 years there will be no programmers, there will be no writers, there won't be any people in the creative business. I'm like, come on, guys, it's just going too far.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So let me ask you, who's been kind of an inspiration for you in your career in your life? Kind of a hero.
Well, there was this gentleman named Jim Gray.
Yeah.
He was a database systems researcher, and he was the guy who was behind the very first relational database that was implemented by IBM. It was called System R,
Yeah.
and he was the guy who was on the engineering team. So he has inspired me primarily because of his um, clarity. I mean, first of all, he was a very good engineer, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, I think kind of things that he implemented, they are in use and they created new industries. He also pioneered this whole idea of benchmarks,
Yeah.
right? And so one of the interesting ideas from him was, um, in the database and information technology industry, we are interested in
Yeah.
sorting, and we want to sort as fast as we can, right? And so people had these sorting benchmarks, and one of his metrics was how many records you can sort in $1. So I mean, I think in the same way, in modern days, we have these AI systems who require huge amount of compute, and you can have a very similar metric that how many questions can ChatGPT answer in $1, for example, right? So
Interesting. So let me ask you this. What is your motivator every day to do this work? You're dealing in a new technology. It's there's probably levels of stress that go into this. What is it that gets you up to do it to the best of your ability and to also take care of yourself and your own soul?
yeah, so I have a spiritual practice,
Yeah.
and I tend to gravitate towards teachers or leaders of our modern time who are spiritually grounded and have ability to inspire. So every day, I start my day with meditation, with some yoga, listening to some chants, and there is a spiritual leader who I follow. He's based in India, but he has a live program every day which gets put on YouTube. So I watch that, and it just gets me going
Yeah.
for the day.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask you this. If you walked into a room of everybody that you've worked with over the years that know you in a business sense, and you could go up to a podium in front of that room and tell them one fun story, a fun fact, a fun thing about you that they may see you in a different light, what would you tell that room?
Well, I recently became father, a single father,
Yeah,
and I have a 15-month-old son at
right
home,
on.
and I've been raising him. I mean, even though I have some nanny support, but I'm the one taking care of him at night and in the evenings, and it's so much joy to be with children that age, right?
Yeah.
Everything is fresh for them, and
Uh-huh.
they are vibrant, they're lively, they run around, and it just it's continuity of life, right? It's
Yeah.
inspiring.
That's wonderful. So, of everything that you've done and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I worked on a project in which we systematically went through a book and codified every single sentence into into a graph or a representation that computer could understand. And that was like a very crazy idea. Nobody has tried it. Nobody would even probably try it today. But it was way out there, and it was very transformational. And some of the leading biology educators and thinkers I talk to, they get it and they get jazzed about it,
Yeah.
and it still hasn't seen the light of the day as a product, but I think someday it will. And that's a project, and we called it Intelligent Textbook, and that's the project, or that's the work that I did. I'm most proud of.
Excellent. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I'm driven, and I have some uh, blessing to be driven, and to you know keep pushing through adversity, and keep and to lead in a certain way. And I don't know if that quite answers your question crisply, but I think of myself as someone who is driven and um, who has some ability and gift to lead.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. So if anyone wants to reach out, they want to learn more, any of the good business in your world, where can they go?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and I've been posting pretty much every day. And I hope that will continue at least for the foreseeable future. But LinkedIn is a great way to find me.
Okay, I will put that in the show notes. I'm so glad that we caught up. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Continued success.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to meet you. And
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.